Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to another video featuring some subscriber replays, and this is going to have a rather tank destroyer-y feel to it. We are kicking off proceedings with Isla, and he is in the Conway, the FV4004, British Tier 9 turreted tank destroyer. Not a machine you see that often. This is on the second British kind of Lend-Lease sort of medium but ends as TD line. The line itself is a bit of a mishmash, and it's not a particularly popular route to go down. Not really helped by the fact that the FV4005 at tier 10 is generally considered to be a bit of a turd. But there we go. So Isla is here at tier 9. Now I have played the Conway on my second account. My opinion of the machine is not great. I think it's decidedly awkward to use. I am not a fan of it. But we'll see how Isla can do in the tank just here. Now Isla's using 25 times zoom here, which I find a little disconcerting. It makes me think the bad guys are right in my face. That's just because I'm not used to using it. You know, I'm old and doddery and can't keep up with the youth using better zoomness. That sentence was lame. But Isla's using it to good effect here. So far he's managed to put a couple of shots in, one into the RU-251, one into the T-32. So why is this thing so awkward? I mean, it's a tier 9 tank destroyer. He gets a turret, that's a good start, right? Well, yes, but there are several issues with it. One, this is a giant tank. It's a Centurion hull, which is big to start with a giant turret shoved on top. That shot should probably have been aimed toward the side of the turret, if we're going to be honest. This giant turret is not the strongest in the world. It's not as weak as the preceding Charioteer turret, but it's not the strongest turret in the world. The gun depression is deeply dubious at 5 degrees. The DPM is pretty good, but the alpha damage is kind of weedy. This is the same 120mm gun that you can mount on the Conqueror, and this really is rather the problem. If you compare the Conway to the Conqueror, they're both from the same tech tree, they're both at the same tier, and you have to wonder why you'd play the Conway. Essentially, with the Conway, you get possibly marginally better mobility, and that will, I imagine, especially be true after they've made their proposed changes to the Conqueror. But I'm not going to give my own personal opinions on that here. And it does have a better gun, but you exchange for that armor, and the gun on the Conqueror is still good. Oh, and gun depression on the Conqueror. So the Conqueror is the more flexible machine, and the Conqueror, whilst the gun isn't quite as good, it's generally good enough. Sorry, just had to move the microphone a little bit. I mean, it's still a good gun to have at tier 9. And because the Conqueror, you're not going to be firing from such long range, you don't have to, you can get a bit closer, the slightly worse gun isn't as much of an issue. Anyway, it's really hard to recommend playing the Conway when the Conqueror exists in the game. That's long story short. Anyway, Isla here is playing indeed the Conway, as I already said, and while I've been rambling on like an idiot, has managed to rack up 2,500 damage here on, can never remember the name of the map, Fisherman's Bay, that's the one. It's a tier 10 match, in case anyone hadn't noticed. So Isla is kind of middle of the road in terms of the matchmaker. Well, I say that, I mean, this is as bad as tier 9 matchmaking is going to get, really. I mean, this is a 357 matchmaking template, so okay, technically it could be slightly worse, but it's still a tier 10 match. The other thing you can see here is that Isla is burning through the ammunition. Your reload, if memory serves, is a bit under 6 seconds or something like that. And 400 out for a shot at tier 9, you have to fire quite a few shells, and you end up taking your shots at long range, so you do burn through the ammo at an alarming rate. So he's down to 5 rounds of armor-piercing ammo. Now he does have 8 rounds of APCR and 5 rounds of high explosive as well. The HE on this tank is pretty good. It's your British HESH ammunition, so 515 average damage, 120 average penetration. But yeah, he is running out of armor-piercing rounds. Now about a third of both teams are dead. Hello, Mr. Jagdpanther 2. Goodbye, Mr. Jagdpanther 2. E75 seems to be hidden behind a rock. Isla goes for the shot, and the shot misses anyway, because nuts to you, who cares about your awesome accuracy? And that's the thing, the accuracy on this tank is good, but the soft stats on the gun are less good. It's a TD, the soft stats are rarely any good. Bounces that one, and that ammo situation is starting to be rather problematic. So with this gun, for those of you who've not used the 120mm gun before, 400 alpha damage, 250 something, 259 penetration, I was going to say 258. Pretty decent shell velocity, good accuracy though. Like I said, tank destroyers get dubious aiming stats. Yeah, the gun just doesn't really feel up to snuff, to be honest. Now they are actually making changes to this tank. Ooh, fire on the STRV. This tank is due to get a bigger gun, which will be interesting. We'll see how that pans out. Up to 4,000 damage now that we've seen, by the way, but run out of armor-piercing ammunition, so Isla is having to use a PCR. Yeah, so we'll see how the bigger gun suits this tank when it gets it, but ooh, nice bounce there. The turret on this tank can bounce the odd shot here or there, but it's not the sort of thing you can rely on. You do have to be a little bit careful. Bit of assistance damage there as well. Hello, Mr. Tier 9 Waffle. There's a penetrating HE shell for you. And Leopard 1... is he going to try and come around and do something about the friendly pilot? Or is the pattern? There is an STA-1 approaching the let's call them the friendly campers, happy campers, and they do have to be a little bit careful of him at A6. Not necessarily because in this matchmaking an STA-1 is a particularly massive threat, but of course he can spot you out, and there's things like T57 heavies and full throwers and other nasty things that can make a lot of pain happen. And indeed, the T57 Heavy actually takes out the T62A. So the friendly team have now lost all of their top tier tanks. The enemy team have the Leopard 1 and the T57 Heavy remaining out of their tier 10s. Isla gets lucky there and bounces that waffle thrower. He's got a Hesh round loaded, so if he is careful with where he aims this shell, he can do an awful lot of damage to the Leopard, but he does need to be very, very careful that he doesn't get absolutely wrecked. Leopard has fired. Isla decides not to take advantage of it. Fair enough, I can understand that. But if these guys stay here too long, I'm not holding out a huge amount of hope for the happy campers behind them, because there is still that STA-1 who is probably still going to be doing some spotting. Leopard has gone around the corner. Isla unfortunately auto-aims that. You could argue he gets a little bit unlucky, and he does, but there we go. So the HE round didn't penetrate. The second one did, however. So that didn't end up making too much damage, though Isla does take a hit from an E75 for his troubles. Up to 3 kills now, by the way. Scoreline is 11-11. We've got Isla, a Lerva, a Rheinmetall Borsig, and an AMX 1390 versus Tier 9 Waffle Thrower, E75, T57 Heavy, and an STA-1. So Isla is deciding at this point to peg it. Can't really say I blame him. This is not a particularly great place to hang out. It's kind of awkward situation for him to be in. AMX 1390, if he wanted to, could probably clip that waffle. Well, he could, it's just a matter of whether he'd survive. I don't know what health he's on, and we don't know if the E75 or the T57 Heavy is looking, and the AMX actually has very, very little health indeed. Yes, Isla, that's a rock. Sorry, couldn't resist. There is the waffle with his 70 hit points remaining. Is he going to come out to play? No, he's not, but the AMX is able to execute him. STA-1, E75, and T57 Heavy are left. So Isla decides to load an APCR round here, remembering he's out of armor piercing, he has fired it all. And that's perfectly sensible, very unlikely to penetrate either an E75 or a T57 Heavy with his HE rounds, so his armor piercing rounds are the way to go. If this 1390 can get a little bit of spotting done, then potentially Isla could get a nice amount of damage out of this, and they could eliminate, or at least severely maul, the T57 Heavy and the E75. The flip side is the T57 Heavy is perfectly capable of clipping both the AMX 1390 and Isla's Conway here with one magazine, so do have to be a little bit careful. Put a shot straight into the front of that T57 Heavy. He fires at Isla and only damages the tracks. Second and third shots penetrate though, and that unfortunately is Isla's game. The T57 Heavy was firing heat. Not that it really made any difference. In fact, I imagine if he'd been firing armor piercing, that first shell, instead of damaging Isla's tracks, would probably have penetrated him. So in that particular case, I think the T57 Heavy probably handicapped himself by firing heat, but that's just speculation on my part. So Isla's game is done here, unfortunately. I'm just going to speed this along a little bit until we get back into some action. There's only 3 minutes left here. Friendly 1390 finds the enemy E75, sorry, and kills him, but the enemy STA-1 has come back towards the base and kills the 1390, and that just leaves a Rheinmetall Borsig and a Lerva who has been sitting in this bush the entire game. I'm not getting a warm fuzzy feeling about this, I'm gonna be honest. So, gonna speed this along a little bit again. Much time passes, and then the E75, or the T57 Heavy is seen approaching our Borsig friend. And unfortunately, T57 Heavy versus Borsig, with those hit point values, only really going to end one way. Now the Lerva here could pop over and shoot the T57 a couple of times, and if the Lerva got himself into a hold down position, perhaps he could keep shooting the T57 Heavy, because the T57 Heavy can't kill the Lerva without reloading his magazine. The Lerva doesn't do any of that, however. He just moves to a new bush. And, let's just... At this point, he's effectively waiting to die. Takes a couple of shots from the T57 Heavy. Backs up. And there we go. It's actually the STA-1 who picks up the kill. So, unfortunately, that game is not a win, but let's go and see how well Isla was able to do for himself. So that was enough for Ace Tanker Bruiser, Fire for Effect, and Confederate medals for Isla there in his Conway. Getting the Confederate, of course, means that he got Heroic Resistance and hence a buff to his experience, which enabled him to get an ace despite being on the losing team. 5,811 damage done, 3 kills, 781 base experience. If we just have a quick look at how some of the other team members did, you might be slightly depressed to learn that Lerva, who spent the entire game sitting in the bush at the back, was only middle of the table for Isla's team. A good half of the team did worse than he did, surprisingly, including that AMX 1390. But there we go. The difference between the two teams really was that T57 Heavy, who was able to pick up 6,500 damage and 5 kills, and unfortunately none of the friendly tier 10s really stepped up to the same plate. In fact, if you compare the tier 10s, on the enemy team you have that T57 Heavy, then in third place the Patton, 3,500 damage. Let's order this by experience, that's a little bit better. Yes, T57 Heavy, then you have the Patton with 3,500 damage. The Leopard 1, however, only 391 damage. But a shout out should also go to the enemy STA-1, who also had a very, very good game. And on the friendly team, it was really the tier 8s and 9s trying to carry their team. The T62A, 2,500. The Leopard 1, 410, and the IS-7, 472 damage. Not particularly impressive. 27 shots fired, 19 hits, 15 penetrations for that damage count, most of which was from relatively long range. 7 hits received, 4 penetrated, 3 did not. You can't expect that all the time. 950 damage blocked by Isla's armour, 12 enemy vehicles damaged. There were only 3 tanks on the enemy team Isla did not put a shot into. 3 of them destroyed, bit of assistance damage into the bargain. Didn't make much of a profit because, well, he ended up firing APCR rounds after he ran out of armour piercing, but enough XP for the ace tanker. So, going to go and have a look at another replay now, also in a turreted tank destroyer. Right, we are sticking with the turreted tank destroyer idea, but we're jumping down a few tiers and having a bit of a segue into the American tech tree from the British. This is Vespertin. He is driving the tier 4 American TD, the M8A1. And he's not top tier. This is a tier 6 match. The M8A1 is of course tier 4. So that means Vespertin is actually bottom tier. And the map isn't particularly good either. This is Kharkov, which is a dirty great big city for a tier 4 TD in a tier 6 game. And he's using the 57mm gun. Now I don't know if this is through choice or just what he's got unlocked. But there are basically 2 guns you can use on this machine. The 57mm that Vespertin's got here and a 76mm gun, which was the one I favoured. Essentially one gives you better penetration and I think slightly better accuracy, and that's this gun, and the other one gives you better alpha damage. But anyway, the point is that this is going to be an interesting one. This is not just going to be someone farming a load of damage from a great distance from impunity. Scoreline is 1-2 already. The team has gotten off to a fantastic start by having a Lux and a Chaffee die in exchange for an A20. Not the best trade in the world, but there we go. And Vespertin is pushing down here, looking for things to kill. Now, this is quite an aggressive move by Vespertin. Could go hideously wrong. But as it is, no one has gotten in his way. And suddenly, oh look, there's artillery. Now, artillery isn't the best on this map, let's be honest. It's a city map. Artillery is not particularly great on city maps. But, well, at the end of the day, a kill's a kill. And that was a kill. And there's the Panzer artillery, clearly not paying attention because his little friend just died and he just got ammo racked. I mean, you look at your mini-map for a reason. Now, this is only a tier 6 match. There will be people in this match, I'm sure, who have played a handful of matches, a handful of games, and don't really know what they're doing. But, oh well, we can't worry too much about that. Now, Vespertin, in getting those 2 kills, has already done more damage than he has hit points. Oh, there's another one. Can we make it 3 for 3? Probably. So slow to react. And one more shot. There we go. 3 kills. All of them artillery. Jeez. Who's next? Come on. Who else wants some? There's a Hetzer over there somewhere. Marder 38T. Type 64. IKV 103. Who is it that's going to be the next to receive Vespertin shaped wrath? Ooh. Marder. 1, 2, 3. And he becomes kill number 4. Who's next? Come on, we can keep this up all day. Scoreline is 9-9, by the way. 10-9. So it's not going too badly, all things considered. And Vespertin decides to relocate a little bit. Doesn't want people getting too used to the fact that he's there shooting them. So going over here, and we've got the IKV 65-2, who is also on 4 kills. And, well, you have to be a little bit careful of him. 240 alpha damage on that 90mm gun. Could potentially one-shot Vespertin with a high damage roll. So he should be a little bit careful. And as soon as he drives over here, of course, his team just start absolutely wilting. Yay. Their IKV has found the friendly artillery in a bit of a switcheroo in positions, considering what Vespertin just did. But Vespertin is able to put shots into the guy's side and to turn him into kill number 5. He's firing a little bit of APCR here. He doesn't have to, and the only person it would really make any difference against is that VK, the tier 6 heavy. With premium ammunition, this gun gets 180 penetration. Yeah, so he really doesn't have to be firing APCR here. It very much depends what he thinks is going to come come up against, if you will. But it's only him and an artillery piece, so I certainly don't blame him for thinking, screw it, now's the time, let's just try and make sure as many shots penetrate as possible. Not critiquing that viewpoint at all. Just seeing if he can find some of these guys. He's done 920 damage, by the way, which for a tier 4 machine is pretty nice going. Now, I would be switching to armor piercing here to make sure that I had the APCR rounds to deal with that tier 6 VK, if necessary, because you don't need the APCR rounds for this IKV. One more shot will kill this IKV. There we go. 6 rounds of APCR left for Vespertin. Hopefully he doesn't have to shoot through the front of that VK too much. Otherwise he might wish that he'd used some more of the armor piercing and not as much of his premium ammunition. So VK and Hetzer are the two remaining. It's not that he can't penetrate the VK with his regular rounds, but it is a little bit dicey. 110 average penetration, 100mm of frontal armour before any angling or penetration drop off with range or anything like that. So, yeah. It's really the only target on the entire enemy team that Vespertin really needs. Well, not even needs, but that you might want to switch to APCR for. So Hetzer and VK, what do we think they're gonna be doing? Well, never mind, there's the Hetzer. And at this point, as it seems likely the Hetzer's gonna be the next target to engage, and I know I keep reiterating this, but I would be switching to armor piercing. And this is, once again, this is not some sort of, oh my god, premium ammunition is so rubbish, or me having a big issue with premium ammunition or something. This is just because if you're... And actually, Vespertin did switch to armor piercing. He doesn't need the premium ammunition for the Hetzer. He might well want to use it for that VK because of its thicker armor. So he puts one shot into the Hetzer. And now we're in this weird sort of position. He doesn't want to drive out in front of the Hetzer. Not sure what gun he's using. And if he's using the 105mm derp, Vespertin could be a one-shot for him. Binos, there we go. Puts one more shot into the Hetzer, and another one. The guy's tracked, and the guy is dead. So, we know now where the VK is. He's announcing his presence by being in the cap circle. Although not anymore, he's just driven out. We don't know exactly where. Vespertin has switched back to APCR, which is not a completely terrible idea. You want to try and make sure you're penetrating this guy. You know, he's bottom tier and he's carrying this game. Now the VK has, assuming he's using the short 88 gun, he has an average alpha damage of 220. A high roll could still one-shot Vespertin, but it's not very likely. But flip side is obviously he doesn't want to take damage unless he absolutely has to. And we have a bit of a Mexican standoff. Now, Vespertin could go around, I guess, or he could just decide, screw it, he's going to take the shot. He actually bounces the round from the VK, who is using the 75mm gun, not the 88. And at this point, you just want to guarantee the guy dies. There we go. That was the match. Let's have a look at those post-game stats. So, that was enough for Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Demolition Expert, Fire for Effect, High Caliber, Top Gun, a Halonen's Medal for destroying at least 2 enemy tanks or tank destroyers that are at least 2 tiers higher than your tank while driving a tank destroyer, and a Dumitriu's Medal for destroying 3 enemy SPGs in one battle. Bear in mind, this would also have been worth a Radley Walters medal for the 8 kills. However, you can't get a Radley Walters medal driving a tier 4 tank. You have to be in a tier 5 or above machine. 1,725 damage done, 8 kills, 1,278 base experience. Lovely game. Carrying a tier 6 game in a tier 4 tank destroyer on a city map with low alpha damage. I think that was a pretty nice showing all round. 32 shots fired, 26 hits, 26 penetrations for that damage count. Most of it was actually from pretty close range. 1 hit received, didn't penetrate, Bazinga. 8 enemy vehicles damaged, and he killed all the ones that he damaged. Use of ammunition during that game wasn't completely idiotic. That was, you know, that sounds really harsh. I didn't mean it to sound harsh. I mean it in that he was pretty intelligent with the way he used ammunition. There were a few points where I think Vespertin didn't have to use as much APCR as he did, and he could have saved it for that VK at the end. But as it turned out, the VK was on low enough health that it worked out fine, and Vespertin also had the Grilla to help, so that was nice to have. But carrying a tier 6 game in a tier 4 TD on a city map, lovely result. Really well done to Vespertin there. So we're going to segue across, still in the American tech tree, but we're going to get rid of the turret and we're going to jack it up a couple of tiers. So for our last replay of this video, we are going to join Kfuffle in his T28 tank destroyer. He is here on Himmelsdorf. I'll get there eventually, good lord. Himmelsdorf. It's an encounter game on Himmelsdorf, and I feel I should point out that not Vespertin, that was the previous replay, good lord. Fuffle does not have the top gun in his T28. This is the 105mm gun from the T25 AT. It's essentially the same gun you use on the T29, the T32, the M6A, whatever it is, Mutant, you get the idea. 320 alpha, 198 penetration, so this is not a fully upgraded T28. Having said that, he is top tier, but straight away he's already taken a shot to the face from a Tiger P, rolling for 329. No, wait, that's the damage that Vespertin did. Whoops. Who was it from? It was from Anudes. Oh, fair enough. I can kind of see that happening. And that takes out Fuffle's engine. I'm sorry, I think I might have just said Vespertin again. Oh, you can tell I do these replays back to back, can't you? So Fuffle has come up to the hill here. The T28 is... It's a kind of awkward tank, if we're going to be honest. If you compare it to its turreted counterpart... Ooh, there's another shot into the engine. If you compare it to its turreted counterpart, the T28 prototype, it has more health than the prototype, and when you have the top gun, of course, strictly speaking, a better gun. It's the same gun, but you have a better rate of fire and things like that. However, the fact that the T28 prototype has a turret makes it much more flexible, and also means you can make much better use of the armor that you do have, you know, by angling the front and things like that. And also, it was given a bit of a top speed boost, so the T28 prototype is actually faster. And, well, for my money... Woo, ammo rack! For my money, the prototype is a much more fun machine to play. Bear in mind, I've only played a few games in the T28 non-prototype version, but I really did enjoy the prototype itself. Anyway, we're not in the prototype, we are in the regular T28. So, Fuffle uses repair kit to put the engine back in his tank, because this, God knows, this thing is slow enough even with the engine. You don't really want to be driving this thing without. Kills that Comet in front of him, that's kill number 2. Now there's a Tiger P who's really not paying attention, and he becomes kill number 3. You should definitely pay attention to your surroundings. Here's an Oni who has not got the memo. He hasn't learned from the fate of all the tanks behind him who have evaporated that there are bad guys behind him. Oh well. Box tank down there, one shot into him and he backs off. Ah, he's dead, even better. So, this is kind of awkward because the T28 has some armor on the front, it's about 200mm of frontal armor, but the sides are utter trash. So when you're coming around a corner here, oh, thankfully that Oni is not paying attention. When you're coming around a corner, it's very easy for people to shoot you in the side armor or through that front axle and really mess you up. As it is, Fuffle is able to pop around and get the kill on the T20 as well, and there's a T29 going for the Cupola, but no such luck. T29 is going to have some trouble penetrating Fuffle's T28 here, though it's not impossible. Ooh, and Fuffle is able to see that T29's hull. Oh dear. You don't want to show your hull in a T29. Silly Billy. Anyway, T29, IKV behind him. And then apart from that, we've got another SU-100Y and a T28 prototype. Side of the turret, side of the turret, side of the turret, side of the turret. Lovely jubbly. Reload, 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 reload. This guy's clearly not getting the hint. He's Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, no. Oh, come on. Really? And how did that shot miss? Well, I guess it balances out, in a sense. In a very, very weird sense. Right, it looks like that T-29 is going to escape, unfortunately. Bit of a shame, but there we go. Unless he backs off or the Fury just nickel and dimes him to death. Oh, come on. Reverse gear's good. You know you like reverse gear. Come on. Ooh, my apologies about that. No, no, yes, 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 no, no. Oh, he's dead. Never mind. So, T-28 prototype, IKV 65-2 and SU-100Y, and the scorelines are even. 3 tanks left on both teams. The Dicamax, OI, and of course, Fuffle's T-28 here. Now, fighting against the prototype is going to be interesting. Frontal engagement, Fuffle, really, well, let's be honest, he needs to use premium ammunition, because this is not the top gun. T-28 prototype has about 200mm of frontal armour. You need more than 200mm to penetrate the frontal armour. This gun has 198mm of average penetration. Now, I appreciate not everyone's maths may be fantastic, however, pretty sure we can all agree that 198 is not higher than 200. Yes, you have RNG, but that cuts both ways. And if that guy's got the top gun, he'll mince Fuffle in 2 shots. So, yeah. Premium ammunition would be good for that purpose. Even the standard ammunition, to be honest, it's about 1,000 credits a shot out of this gun. Not exactly cheap. Anyway, prototype has driven all the way down to the other end of the map, has killed the Dicamax, and, well, he's fighting an Oni. We'll see how that pans out. My money's on the prototype, but I could, of course, be wrong. You know. Depending on how he plays it, I guess, and depending on what gun the Oni is using, and so on and so forth. So far, they're still beating each other in the face like a couple of old women with handbags. But there we go. We know there's someone in the capture circle. Oh, the prototype takes a big hit. He is making a meal of trying to kill that Oni. Good lord, you got 250mm of penetration, mate. And I can see the damage numbers. You're using the big gun. Anyway. We know there is someone in the capture circle. It'll be either the IKV or that SU-100Y. And this thing is slow enough that you don't want to ignore the capture circle for too long, or things will go hideously wrong. So Fuffle is fairly sensibly driving over to the capture circle here. And the prototype takes out the Oni eventually, but he has put himself into one-shot territory. SU-100Y is apparently just not paying attention to what's going on. There is a dirty great big American tank destroyer right here, and you just let part of your tank hang out round the side of terrain, did you? Sure, why not, I guess. Anyway, if Fuffle can take out this SU-100Y, that would be lovely. Kill the box tank, kill the box tank, kill the box tank, kill the box, and now he's just hanging out the other end. This guy is a bit of a wombat. Seriously, the only reason Fuffle doesn't have a shot there is because he closed the distance. Come on, sick this guy. Even with his highest penetrating round, which incidentally is his regular armor piercing round, this guy's going to struggle to penetrate the front of the T-28 unless he knows how to aim. And given how he's playing this so far, I am not going to bet any money on that being the case. We are, however, as he is currently still alive, being subjected to a fairly entertaining game of Ring a Ring of Roses as we all dance round the whatever the hell that is. Oh, prototype spotted. Oh god, right. Premium ammunition or a HE round. He's only got 47 health left. Would do the biscuit. There we go. Fuffle is switching to APCR to, apologies for the coughing in the background, try and do something about that prototype. Oh, and there's the IKV as well. Come on, Fuffle, you need to start killing these guys or they surround you. Right. No, no. Oh, no, no. But somehow they done goofed. And Fuffle is able to kill the SU-100Y, and now we can put that building between himself and the prototype. And with a little bit of awkward wiggling, because this thing don't have a turret, deal with the IKV. And then, oh, surely Fuffle's dead here. Surely there is a tank with a turret coming to kill him. And surely he cannot survive this. Come on. Dear Mr. Prototype, what is even happening here? No, he's given Fuffle a chance to turn around. Oh, this could all be over very soon. Oh, he's put his shot into the wreck, but Fuffle only tracks him. Now, this is where you get the interesting bit. Fuffle should reload first. He's using a smaller gun, and the Fuffle reloads first. Reloads quicker. The Fuffle reloads quicker? Oh, good lord. The T-28 reloads quicker than the T-28 prototype. Anyway. And there we go. Yes. Word to the wise, the Fuffle loads quicker. You know, like hand shoots first, Fuffle loads quicker. Anyway, my verbal foibles aside, it's a bit like Covfefe all over again. Anyway, that to one side, that ended up being a really nice game there for Fuffle. At the end was Fuffle should have died about 6 times, but he didn't. And so, P wins! Let's go and have a look at the post-game stats. There we go then. Here are the results for that one. Ace Tanker, Demolitionist, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Shell-Proof, Cool-Headed, Steel Wall, High Caliber, Top Gun, and the Radley Walters Medal. Lots and lots of shiny things. 4,315 damage done, not with the Top Gun. 8 kills, 1,424 base experience. Commiserations to the enemy T-28 prototype for doing almost 4,000 damage and still losing. However, he did make a little bit of a meal of the end of that game, to be fair. So, swings and roundabouts. Friendly Oni, congratulations. You got yourself into a head-to-head fight with an enemy tank destroyer 1 tier higher than you, and you managed to get the guy down to a sliver of his health before dying, and you did almost 3,000 damage. So actually, that Oni, as far as I can see, ended up in the end, doing quite well and having a good game of that, and Loki is giving me her own impression of what he managed to achieve there. 26 shots fired, 20 hits, 17 penetrations for that damage count. Most of it was from fairly close range. It is Himmelsdorf. Oh dear. Himmelsdorf. My tongue and my brain are just not in sync at the minute. 19 hits received, 4 penetrated, 15 did not, for 3,550 damage blocked by Fuffle's armor there, which is a bit ridiculous. 6 enemy vehicles spotted, 12 of them damaged, 8 of them destroyed, travelled over 2 kilometers. Okay, made a loss because he fired some premium rounds, but to be fair, only after he switched ammunition to deal with the T-28 prototype, and then it was just like people turning up, demanding that they be executed, and he wasn't going to spend the time switching ammunition type just to kill them. That would be silly. So, in the end, actually, a really nice result for Fuffle there, so well done to him. There we go then. I hope you guys enjoyed that bunch of subscriber replays, despite my tongue just getting itself wrapped around any word that it can possibly find, even if it's not the word I'm looking for. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, by all means, feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel. And as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.